It's good to see you guys. It's good to be back. The bye, we were able to do a lot of self scout. I thought we really improved in that area. We had a lot of our defensive analysts and GAs break down our offense from that perspective, from their perspective, and got into detail. As if Baylor were to play our offense, and then vice versa. So offensively, our analysts and GAs looking at our defense and ways to attack it and things that stand out and stick out. And so we spent the majority of the week doing that. And I'm appreciative of everyone's work and their efforts there. We were able to get some good work practice-wise on 2 particular days, and then had a day where it was just young guys scrimmage. And I thought that went really well. Some guys that maybe don't see a lot of time was able to showcase them, and we had our players as coaches, and we had head coaches and coordinators and guys calling plays and all of it. So I think there was some fun with that. And then we had our coaches get out on the road recruiting, and so I think a lot of good feedback in terms of reception and in terms of what they're able to see and who they're able to talk to and all of it. So positive momentum in the recruiting front, but it's good to be back. It's to have some time off, I think, is well needed. Our staff and our players have really invested into all this, and so it's nice to have a bit of a breather. But I miss the routine, I miss the grind, and so it's good to get back into it. So I'm looking forward to a good day today. And we've got ourselves a great opponent at the end of the week, and looking forward to that challenge. Take any questions you guys got.
Dave, Texas obviously has a very explosive offense. What kind of challenges do they present?
I think when I look at first of all, I've got a ton of respect for Sark and just his pedigree and his I think he's got a learner's mindset. I think he's always looking to improve. I think he's always looking to find an edge, and there is a hunger about him that I think whenever I watch him or I watch his teams, it kind of jumps off the screen. And I think that has been a major factor, I think, in him staying at the forefront of offense. Is his ability to want to get better. And so I think their throw game, their shot throw game, is what stands out the most. And I think their ability to get chunk plays and explosive plays is the best that we've seen. I think defensively we have not been the best at defending that, and so I think right away that becomes a thing. I think their running back is, to this point, the best running back that we would have seen. And so I think, you have a system or an offense that takes advantage of tighter secondaries, tighter coverage. When they played Tech played off quite a bit and tried to do some of the things I think that Arkansas did earlier in the year, and they were able to hit the dead spots in the zones and stuff. And so it's a attack that I think is flexible and is really efficient. But having 6-7 guys back there protecting, there's a lot of time to throw it, and they've been really efficient with those explosive plays. So the challenge really is going to become defending that, playing that top down, and having the people in the box that you need to defend the running back, and the jump cuts and the spins and the explosiveness that he has. And so great challenge.
Dave, just to put it on the record from you, are you and your family set on Baylor next year, or would you hear calls from USC back home, LSU, where you've been?
No, you know what? First, I'd say with LSU and USC too, but LSU in particular, just anytime there's change like that, I mean, that, got great friends at USC and great friends at LSU. And so you hate to see that. And I think, I look at Coach O, man, I look at how much I've learned from him, the time that he spent and really just invested in me when, he didn't have to or didn't need me there. And so I recognize that and appreciate that. And so it's sad when those days, like what last week, when those days come, you don't ever want to see that. And so I want to see them have success at the end of the year. But yeah, I love it here. I mean, and my family loves it here. And, I think, Baylor has been everything that I thought it would be. I think coming here was an opportunity to grow and to be better. And I think, a lot of times, man, that looks awkward. I told our team that, as there's, I get uncomfortable when I have to look at myself. There's an awkwardness about kind of growing and trying to stretch, man, and be better. And I feel like everything that Baylor stands for, the people that are here, the hearts of the people that are here, I think it's bigger than football. And so I appreciate that. And, I think our team is built that way, and I think it's special.
Dave, how do you go about – you mentioned your defense and giving up the big plays. I think against BYU there were maybe 5 that were 40 to 45 plus 50. How do you fix that, or how do you go about trying to fix that?
I think one is, pass rush, so the ability to play run to pass. And so I think when you're just in a pass rush mode, that's one thing, and that's for us not running by the level of the QB or being in our area rush lane or being in contain when you're in contain. We're still kind of fighting through some of those battles too. But when it is run to pass, it's different because we're trying to hammer on guys and hit blocks and be thick and do all this, and now it's not a run, now it's a pass. And so now you have to get off on edges. You've got to all of a sudden let's get extension from a guy so I can play a primary to a secondary. Oh, now it's pass. Now let's get real tight to a guy so I can make a move and get by him. And so our ability to individually be better in that area, I think, will help us collectively, and so there's a lot of drill work that goes with that. I think, schematic wise, to help with that is edge pressure as opposed to interior pressure. If there is creepers or that type of thing, then I think secondary wise, the ability to make the play when the ball's at its highest point, just bringing it down to the micro, so when you are in a one-on-one, right, breaking down that one-on-one in terms of when your eyes should come back or when you should be punching through a pocket or when you should be become the intended receiver. And so I think getting to the finer details of that and drilling that with really good, we've got receivers that are well-versed in all of it from the other side, so getting the one-on-one piece is going to be big. But then I think the collective, the schematic part would be finding ways to double guys, and so that we can contort a front, right, to negate top runs by formation of personnel, and then get people on the back end that can help double the guys that we got to double. A lot of these routes we're talking about are 2-3-man routes, and so, if there's a lot of guys that are blocking, we can use some of our guys and cover the guys that are running. And so sometimes that's easier said than done, but that is going to be the plan.
Dave, you've talked about the stopping the run being a key to what y'all do defensively. Do you like kind of where you guys are? I mean, with that, obviously you're coming off a pretty good game, stopping the run against BYU, and just how big of a challenge is that against, like you said, maybe the best running back you've seen this year?
I think we're improving in that area. I think we're not where we can be or where we want to be yet. I feel the improvement is real, though, and I think, it is. I think it all comes back to doing our 111th and being you but aligning with us. I think there is a fair amount of I think beneath maybe the head nod and defend the run and all this, do your job and all that, beneath all of that is last year defensively, we had to score points. We had to do everything, right? And so these are what guys are thinking. These are what some of the players are thinking. And so like that, I'm going to do my job. If it's a nothing game, once we're down by 14 or down by 21, I'm going to take this chance. I'm supposed to be here, but I'm going to go there, right? I'm supposed to be up, but I'm going to go down, and all this other stuff. And so there's remnants in there of that. And I think anytime you're in adversity or anytime you're in a pressure situation, that bubbles back up. And so you have to kill that. I think you can't defend the run when it's that way. And there's some of that showed up in the game that we're referencing from a couple of weeks ago. And so I think for everyone to do their job and for them to bring your own energy and your own style, I think is what makes us unique and special. But I think we have to play as a unit, and everyone's got to do their individual job, and so that people can feel the trust across the board that they can do theirs. And I think that is growing, not there yet.
Dave, over the course of self-scouting the offense, was there anything that stood out that maybe you've kind of missed over the course of the grind this season?
There's things with personnel groups and the people within the personnel groups. There were things with backfield sets and all of it. So I'm proud of the work that went into all that. I think there is I think just backing up and looking at that bye, I think it is a good reflective statement to say that with the time that we got, we're going to work on us, right, as opposed to looking ahead and all of that. And so I'm glad that that's the way we think, and that's what we accomplished, But then to do it with the detail that we did, I think, is something that can separate us from others for sure. Because there's a fair amount of I think anytime you're talking about cats and dogs, really, when you're talking about offense and defense, they're walking the same path, but they can see it and react in much different ways. And I think the defensive perspective, I think, can open up a lot of maybe things that were in plain sight, maybe just new ways of thinking of things. I think all of that came to pass this past week.
Dave, what kind of a addition has Grant Miller been for the offensive line?
Grant's a perfectionist, so you appreciate that about Grant. I think Grant is detailed. Grant is all the way in. I think from the very beginning he was that way, and so I think coming from Vanderbilt, was a captain there, and I know there's some strong history with Baylor with his family, but I mean he laid himself bare for us right in the beginning, and I think he was coming over a time when it'd be easy to say like what the H is going on with Baylor, and so I appreciate that from him. And so I think just like his work ethic and his his continual growth, because he's grown a lot just in himself. I think for all of us that want to be perfectionists, there's a time and a place, and I think he's grown a lot in that area. And so it's been fun. I'm glad we got him, man. It's been fun to have him.
Just in terms of Jalen being named a Thorpe semifinalist today, what makes him so special in that defensive back area?
He has a real strong intensity about him. Jalen's he's a great person, and I think he's he's hooked up right in terms of there's certain guys that can walk into rooms and just get it and kind of read the room and see it and know where everything's at. He's one of them. I think his moral compass is very strong. I think his sense of right and wrong is very strong, and so I appreciate that about him. I think very instinctive. Might be our most instinctive player, really kind of by a mile in some in some instances. And so I think, he gets to a place on the field to where, his intensity takes over, and then his instinctiveness takes over, and he's like a different person. And so we enjoy having that Jalen on our team too, as well as the one that's, off the field doing everything right. And so I think he is, when he speaks, people listen to him. And I think he, like what we're talking about with Grant, has grown quite a bit in leadership and in recognizing that he does have a voice, and recognizing that people want to follow people that do stuff the right way, and that he's one of them. I think all of that has been a journey for him.
Dave, this is the 111th meeting between Baylor and Texas. I don't know if you're aware, but Jerry Hill was at the first one. Might be, one of the last. I mean, obviously, you guys will play him again next year, but down the road, they're leaving the conference. Does that add a little extra to this matchup, and do you expect the reaction from the crowd at McLean might be a little different than it was for BYU?
I can see it. I think it's interesting you bring that up, because I think it's fun to be a fan, and the having the bye, I think kind of almost reintroduces you to being a fan, and having, wanting to be able to say, hey, my team won, and the bragging rights and stuff that comes with it, I think is a fun part of being in sports. I'm a big Dodger fan. The Dodgers lost, and it's rough, when you're on that side of it. And so I think anytime that you can be a part of something that's winning, it's always better. But I think from a team perspective, I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is getting back in a groove and getting back in a process. I think when we left, everything had its thing. And so there was a way that we met. There was a way that we got to practice early. There was a way that we would jog from hash to hash. There was a way we ran on and off the field. And everything, there was no just we're going to show it up and let it roll. Like everything was something that had a philosophy behind it and was really structured to get the most out of it. And so I think when your focus is on those things, that really kind of you have the blinders on to the other things. And I'm excited to get back into that phase of it, because this past week your horizon can be big at times.
Dave, if you were to give a call to action, what could the team use from the atmosphere of the fans on Saturday?
I think just the engagement. I think just showing their passion. It has been growing. I think our fans and their involvement in the games as you go through. I think if you look back throughout week to week, I think it's gotten better and better. And so I think what an exciting game. I think this for us an opportunity to take that next step and improve on defense. Special teams wise for Texas might be their best phase of their team, and then for offensively is to assert our identity versus a real physical, and have a lot of respect for their coaches on that side of it. Comprehensive defense, and so I think with all of that, just the home field advantage and what the fans can bring, I think is going to play a major factor in it. I think for us as a home field team, we can take that next step too.
You talked about being the more aggressive team all season. How important is that when you turn on Texas film? How important is that key for you guys Saturday?
I think it's important. I think starting fast is way important. You look at their first quarter and their second quarter, it might be 2-1 on what's happening on the third and fourth. And I'm sure they're spending a lot of time, trying to get all those numbers up. I'm sure, but one of the things that stands out about them is that they jump on you fast, and it's big plays generally. And so there is a wave that you have to withstand, And so I think for us, early game, starting fast, being on our P's and Q's, eyes where they need to be, right? Answering and finishing drives on offense, being aggressive on special teams, and matching in intensity. All of that from the get-go is going to be way important. And I think, I see aggressiveness when I put on the film and watch Texas. I hope they see that from us. It'll make for an entertaining matchup.
What do you do with Dillon? You've had Dillon Doyle plugged in on offense several different times. What is it uniquely about him that makes you pull a defensive guy over and plug him into the offense?
He's got real good football IQ. There's an understanding of the reason behind a play, his importance in a play. I think there's folks that will that maybe sometimes it's paint by numbers, and I think when there is goal line, short yardage, these type of situations, it's not always that way. There can be some chaos inside of the the defensive alignment, and so I think for one of the strengths with Dillon is his ability to improvise, think on the run, and that shows up. I think his physicality, his size, I think his hands. Right from the beginning, I think when we had him over, we would throw passes, and it would be normally towards the end of the period, and in practice, and he was catching them all, and so then he started getting more and more. And then it shows up in a game. So it's pretty cool, just his progression. But I think his ability to kind of handle all of that in a real cool, methodical way just gives everybody confidence. And so before you know it, right, you're making big plays on the other side of the ball.
Defensive line as a unit, thoughts on their growth? We've specifically kind of isolated Apu a couple of times, but the rest of the guys on the line, like Cole Maxwell and others.
Yeah, improved. I think Cole has been one of the strongest improvements from last year to this. I think his ability to play with technique, and we've talked about cars and trucks and all of it, and to kind of take on that identity has been a big piece. I think TJ Franklin the last couple weeks, really since Oklahoma State, has really been the most improved out of that unit. And I think similar facet, BU aligned with us. I think that has been a way strong mantra for him. I think his play has earned him more playing time. And then you look at guys who are just real steady, like Utley, where you can move around, and you can count on him for doing things right, and count on him for a calm presence of not jumping in and out of gaps and not trying to do too much. And then I think Apu has continually improved, right? Chidi has continually improved. I think that nose guard position, if you were to say one thing about that group, is that our nose guard position has been winning more than they're losing, and so great challenge this week for sure.
Dave, have you ever had a part of you seem to be so selfless and someone that you've had a lot of success, but have you ever had to battle when attention comes your way of not getting caught up in that?
No, I try to go away from the attention. So I try to not be around it. Yeah, I think I don't know. I just think it's crazy for a team, for a side of the ball. I think to have, you feel a lot, and so I feel quite a bit. And so when things aren't right, you feel it. And when things are kind of clicking and connected, you feel that too. And so to get the feeling right of, so you're talking about guys with roles. Am I getting the ball? Am I not getting the ball? Am I seeing this time? Am I not seeing that time? You're thinking about guys with calls. We're doing this enough. We're not doing that enough. You're thinking about, there could be NFL, there could be, winning, losing, any of that. But when you're feeling everything and it's where it needs to be, and you feel good about it, there's just no room for you in that. You know, there's not, takes too much space. And so I think I think when you're trying to get it to where you need it to be, it's a lot of work.
Just in terms of, Abrams kind of in that lead back role, but how do you balance when you have two really talented guys in that backfield, carries and touches, getting guys in a groove while also, limiting the amount of hits they take in a game?
It's a really good question, and I think it's it comes up when you have success, I think, and so that's a pretty relevant question too, and not only in that position but some others. And so I think what you want to be able to do is find ways of maximizing what the guys can do, and then featuring them so that they are doing what they are best at. And I think that has kind of led us to where we are now, because now we're on the second half of it, where now there's tendencies. And now there's, hey, this number's in, it's this. If this number's in, it's that. And so now it's the ability to kind of grow from those initial roles and, get outside of maybe a comfort zone. And so I'm excited to see kind of what's next with all of it. I think the ability for Abram to be around in some more of the throwing game, and for Ebner to be around in some of the more downhill run game, I think is only going to make us better. And I think you couldn't ask for just two more selfless guys that want the team to win and will do whatever it takes for that to happen.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys.